Good morning and welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be going over how to choose your market. Now just stick around and enjoy the video. Okay, so today we're going to be going over how to choose a market for gold making and gold farming. So that being the case, we are going to be going over how to pick a market, or how I pick a market. I wanted to give you guys a kind of a baseline on how I actually go and approach this, and hopefully this can help you do the same. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Now, what we're going to be wanting to do is by starting off with our Brutosaur and yes, or an auction house. And that being the case, let's have a look at what we're actually dealing with. So I've pulled up the standard thing. Obviously I've got a load of things saved to my favorites, and what we'll be wanting to go over is gathering professions first of all, like picking what would be the best market to get into right now. Now there is a way that I tend to do it, and that is primarily using WorthIt. And let's jump into WorthIt and have a gander. So the thing that we want to have a look at is by having a look at the gold per hour for that necessary farm, as well as the sell rate for that. This will ultimately determine whether or not we should actually approach this. So there are multiple different gathering farms. We have mining, herbalism, fishing and skinning, along with cloth farming, which is just open world stuff which doesn't require a profession, along with a load of miscellaneous farms, i.e. volatiles, royal jelly and primals. They're also accounted for in that. So that's something we can do for gathering professions, like we're literally gathering materials. So what would we want to do while having a look at this? Well, we can have a look at this quite easily by just jumping into WorthIt. Now, I used to just go onto the auction house and see which material is doing the best, or the Undermine journal. To be quite frank about it, ever since WorthIt was created, I've just been going with that because it has pretty much done the job that I was trying to work out back in the day. So that being the case, let's have a look at mining. Now, mining at this moment in time is the best farm for that is dark iron ore, 12,000 gold, and that is from the molten core at 0.14. That's pretty decent sell rate, especially for dark iron ore. And the one down from it is serenite ore, 10,000 gold per hour for 0.15. So ideally, looking at the sell rates and the gold per hour, obviously dark iron ore will be the best. So let's move down and have a look at herbalism and try and see which one would be better. This is where it actually gets a bit weird. And what it's telling me right now is Whiptail is about 10,434 gold per hour. As you well know, the other one was 12,000 gold per hour. So 10,000 gold or 12,000 gold per hour, and it's at a 0.24 sell rate. So what I could surmise from that is pretty much, do I want to lose 2,000 gold in order to sell the materials faster, or do I want to wait? Now, overall, what I'd want to do is generally I would go for the highest price thing, but you have to sometimes take sell rate into account, i.e. if you went into skinning. So that is what we'll be doing right now. And we'll jump over to skinning, which is skinning. Now, what you can see here is a load of different types of farms. Some of them are 15,000 gold per hour, some of them are 14. And now, this one's the weird one, because this is wind scales. And wind scales is 12,000 gold per hour, like our mining one. But the sell rate is at 0.05. That means that it's not going to sell as fast or very infrequently as it would by farming up something else, i.e. the something above, which is coarse leather farm, Drustvar, 0.53 sell rate for 14,000 gold per hour, and the one above that is exotic leather, 15,000 gold per hour for 0.25. The idea is, do I want to do a coarse leather farm when doing that, or do I want to do the exotic leather farm? Now, me personally, I know these farms like quite well, and I know that Drustvar farm for coarse leather is kind of very oversaturated at the moment in time. So the high sell rate is negated by so many people farming that up. Now, I rarely see people farming exotic leather, so I'll go with the higher gold per hour for that, because I'd rather wait half the time it would to sell the coarse leather as opposed to the exotic leather, but I know that I can then somewhat get a decent gold per hour for that, and overall that's why it's at the top. So then we can have a look at fishing. So how I would approach something with fishing, and fishing, it's really a weird one because they're not worth all that much gold at the moment in time. So really it is Dark Moon Daggermore which is the best one, and that is 6,557 gold. Obviously albino cavefish has tanked recently, so it's not worth fishing that up. So that's something you may want to bear in mind right there. Just double checking what has tanked and what can come back. What you can also expect is, if you have a look at it, the region market value average is around about 259 gold for the albino cavefish, whereas the market value for them is 72, but they've dropped down recently to 40 gold per piece, and that's not that good in the grand scheme of things. So let's just jump over to cloth. Cloth is about the same thing. It's mainly oversaturated at the moment, so we'll stay clear of cloth farming because we don't really want to waste our time. The best thing to do at the moment is exotic leather farming, so we've surmised that, and let's see if we can find anything else. Now, having a look at this, royal jelly is doing quite well. It's 13,000 gold per hour, and that is at a 0.13 sell rate. Now, the thing with royal jelly is that, and what we can actually look at right now when we open up the royal jelly farm, is how many you're going to likely get per hour for the material wise. And what I can surmise from this is royal jelly farm is locked behind rep, because you're going to need to get hold of the necessary rep in order to farm it effectively. So unless you can do that, unless you can actually farm it effectively, this one's a pointless farm and you should negate it, because if you're just going to start it straight off the bat without any reputation with the honeycomb hive or your horde, then it's not worth your time, because horde can't actually do it. So that being the case, we'll just jump that down. And then volatile life. Volatile life, Aldom, it's still flower picking, and that one is 10,000 gold per hour, 0.24 sell rate. Not very that good overall, and we can then come to a conclusion of why skinning is the best one. It's the highest gold per hour, it's at a reasonably high sell rate, 0.25, and overall it'll be well worth my time. Now obviously we can double check this and see how steady the actual gold for these actual things are. Overall, what do we actually think about all this? Well, exotic leather seems to be the best right now. You can also cross-reference this by changing the price source and all that stuff, but overall when it comes to materials, they don't fluctuate all that much unless someone like super farms the hell out of it and then just drives the price down. Overall, you're not going to be worried all that much. Now, other things that you may want to consider are materials that aren't commonly farmed, but you've got to take into account the sell rate for that, such as like cobra scales, 0.05, the devilosaur leather is 0.09, and overall those ones don't sell all that much. So unless you've got a nice supply, you're probably not going to want to jump into those markets because it's not worth it. But if you wanted to get into there, then I would recommend having like some form of other stockpile of materials in order to do that. Now overall, how do I pick my market when it comes to like gathering farms? It's really that dead simple. It's like cross-referencing the sell rate between the gold per hour that I'm going to get, and then seeing how it differs depending on the price source, so to speak. Now obviously in the latest version of WorthIt that should be ready in the next upcoming weeks, that means that you guys will be able to add your own custom price source strings in, and they are the same as TSMs. So that's something you guys may want to fiddle around with and have a gander with. I'm working on a few right now. Now, other than that, what else would I recommend at this moment in time, like to get into a market? Now, when it comes to professions, you can always go with a nice rule of thumb. Predominantly, the best professions are always inscription, alchemy, enchanting. those ones seem to always provide the best. Now, you can also consider other different things when it comes to that, like the raid flasks. Anything crafted for raids is usually a safe bet at the beginning of an expansion up until midway near the end. You can still pull some reasonable gold in, but overall it's not going to be as much as it once did. You can still pull in a strong amount of gold, especially with pots and flasks, though, near the end of an expansion, because everyone's gearing up for that next expansion because they won't have immediate access to those potions. So other than that, guys, that is how I like to pick a market. I just cross-reference the gold that I'm going to make with the sell rate and then just decide on whether it's a safe investment overall in order to invest my time and make it actually worth it. Other than that, guys, have an awesome rest of the day, and I shall see you in the next video, which will be tomorrow.